Hello. It's time once again for another episode of Indie and Stuff, the only show where we don't talk about anything and yet we talk about everything. I have a special guest with me today. He's kind of cute. Little crush on him. This is your second time on the show. So
I was about to say, hopefully you viewers recognize me.
If you're new, this is my husband, Ian.
Hello.
Which is weird. Well, it's not weird, but...
It's weird that I'm her husband.
No.
How did I get such a catch?
Oh
my gosh. Everyone in my life says it's weird.
We don't say our first names that much. So when I'm like, Ian, you're like,
when
what?
It's not babe.
Yeah, so it's weird when we have to be like...
Or
in public.
Cutie patootie. You actually never called me that.
My little suckers. Our kitten update, they are bigger. I don't know how old, 12 weeks, 13 weeks, 14 weeks, I don't know.
Probably like 4 months. 5 months.
Yeah.
It's November.
Oh.
We're recording this in November.
Yeah. So we're recording this in November because this is going to come out like a day before our 4-year wedding anniversary. Dun, dun, dun. So I thought it'd be fun to like record in real time. A lot of my episodes I do ahead of time. So I play a little trick on you. Which reminds me I need to give an update because a lot of my podcasts I recorded like in August and September, and then they've been coming out like October. And it's good that I did that because I actually got sick. So this is like
for almost a month.
I'm still technically getting over it. So it's been over 3 weeks at this point. So like the whole later half of October, I was like super out.
And if it becomes like a solo podcast for about 30 seconds because you have a coughing fit, I got you.
Yeah.
This is going to be fine.
But basically, I had what we think was COVID. I like shot a wedding. And then the next day I had a shoot and I just kind of felt really tired and drained, but didn't think much of it. I thought I was just like recovering from the wedding. And then that following Monday, I thankfully didn't have any shoots or anything. And I was just like completely out. Super like on the couch, like low energy.
It's probably the most sick you've been in our marriage.
Probably, except for when I had food poisoning. That was worse.
I mean, yeah, but this was like long though. Food poisoning was like 24, 48 hours.
Yeah.
It exhausts you. It's awful. That was
awful.
That was terrible.
But
this one was.
Yeah, I had like all the COVID symptoms, like just super low energy, 103 fever, hot, cold flashes. A lot of like a weird cough situation started to develop.
Can I be grossly like...
Ew, yeah.
Like she'd wake up cold, but like the bed was like sweaty, which was insane.
I was like, sleep well.
I'd be like, how are you cold? You are like sweating puddles right now.
Ew, yeah. The puddles. It was gross. I couldn't sleep. I didn't want to eat. And then food started tasting gross. So I was like, okay, I probably have COVID. Then I took 2 COVID tests and they both said negative.
COVID flu test as well.
And the flu said negative. On these things. I even took a pregnancy test because I was like, hot flashes, weird appetite, everything tastes gross.
You've been taking some pregnancy tests recently and like,
just whatever.
Like you're sick. We're at the Getty Villa.
Like anxious. Like it's not even that I even think we're pregnant. I'm just anxious.
Like, what is this sickness? It was new. It was a new one for you.
Well, to be fair,
you never got COVID.
I missed my period for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Now we're just getting honest.
Yeah, here you guys go. But like you've never gotten COVID. I got COVID back in 2022.
Yeah, and I never had it.
And you never had it.
And we were in the same bed the whole time.
And so maybe this is your version, but yeah, we think it turned into walking pneumonia.
Yeah. So then I had this nasty cough. Then I had these like coughing fits. But the worst thing was I still had to shoot weddings because that's like the peak season.
That's the worst thing, having to shoot weddings.
No, like I still had to shoot probably, I think 3 weddings over that period of sickness. And I would like not be able to talk without having a coughing fit. And so I was like shooting someone's ceremony and you were there and I had to like take a cough drop in the middle of the ceremony because I was like holding back a coughing fit. And you know when you have those and it's like super embarrassing because you just start like hacking up your lungs and you're like, I can't like, you can't just, nothing helps. Everyone's like, are you okay? I'm like, don't talk to me. Like I'm hacking up mucus right now. I need water and like 10 minutes to breathe.
And it's like a high level wedding. You want to look professional and just like hacking up a lung on the side doesn't feel elevated.
Ew, yeah. That's what was gross was like, I couldn't really like direct the way I wanted to. I couldn't engage in the, day as much as I wanted to.
I helped you out a couple times.
You brought me on as a second shooter. We were like doing their portraits and I started having a huge like lung like explosion. It feels like an asthma attack. And I just like ran to the bathroom because I needed water and I needed to like breathe. And I couldn't like, my breath felt like I couldn't get a deep enough breath.
At this point, you had been sick for a couple of weeks. Yeah. And so I kind of knew like what was happening when it was happening. I was like, okay, this is like one of those deep coughing fits. It's going to last a couple minutes. So I'll just kind of take over.
But
You went and got some
so
water.
gross. Like if you weren't there,
It sounded like.
I just ran. Like
was
I was
like-
like shooting the cup and I was just like, just like
Sorry
ran
for all
away.
the listeners because that sound was awful. But yeah, just the gurgle like on inhale and exhale was wild. I hadn't heard
Yeah.
lungs like that. I
It
was
sounded like there was, like,
you sounded
fluid in my
underwater
lungs.
the whole time.
Yeah.
But,
so anyway, that's what I just came through. Now we're on the other side. Praise the Lord for antibiotics.
And Dr.
Shout
Friends.
out to Dr. Stewart.
Hopefully you don't get in trouble for that.
No, you're good. Dr. Stewart, MVP.
MVP.
So yeah, that's where we're at. But now I feel good and good enough to chat and actually
Even
be
went on
on
a morning
camera.
walk.
I went on a morning walk. Ew, it's daylight savings.
I went on a morning walk. Ew.
No, it's daylight savings as of yesterday. And
Yeah. So you went on your morning walk and the sun was setting
yeah,
by
I
the time
woke
you got
up
back.
and I was like, why am I so awake? It's like 7 a.m. And I just like was like, babe, I'm gonna go for a walk. I just like went for a walk, which is something I
Which is
don't
the
do.
only time you can get sunlight here right now.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna have to do this winter is get up super early just to go see the sun
Yeah.
and be a little bit happy. Anyway, that's my life. How's your life this week? What's going on?
I think we should do the intro before we jump into that. Or do you
Well,
wanna do this?
okay,
You
you're
want to get
eating-
into my life?
Yeah,
Am I jumping
you're
the
eating
gun?
a pumpkin donut.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little fire. I don't know if you can see it on camera.
Sorry for you listeners while I'm...
Oh, this is why you should be watching.
Ow.
You should be watching.
Really hot.
Ooh. I know. I feel a little sketchy about it, but it's okay. Hi, Appa.
It'll try its best.
Yeah, what's going on in your life? What's happening?
Yeah, we're both kind of getting through busy season. So
Yeah.
it's been pretty wild just trying to get through the past couple months, I think especially. And we have a lot of exciting, prospects on the horizon, which is cool to have while going into slow season.
Because Ian does film.
I do film. Yeah, I'm a film
He's
producer.
a film boy.
I'm jumping on some projects, but for the next, month and a half, I'll probably be mostly editing and catching up on all my clients that, I owe edits to. I did a lot of filming, and now
You had a crazy fall too, because you
was traveling
did
a
some
lot.
weddings with me, but then you were traveling for work. You went to like Cleveland, and then the next day Kentucky, and then a week later Indiana, and then Cincinnati.
Yeah, and we were
So we
doing
haven't even
short
seen each
films
other much.
and-
Are you real?
at one point we were in Kentucky, but on opposite sides of the state for different projects.
Yes.
And so been traveling a lot, been super blessed to keep enough film projects to be, keeping us afloat and pursuing what we feel called to, and
We're floating.
been really excited about the prospects of what's to come and the things that we've built over these years in our businesses. So if anybody has any film projects, I do corporate, commercial, music videos, whatever kind of style weddings.
No, he just does movies,
Yeah.
TV and movies.
Yeah. So I've been really excited about what's to come. Lots of decisions. It's kind of, we're in that, what is it? DINK phase, dual income, no kids.
Yeah, barely dual income. Both of us together are barely scraping
Barely one.
by.
We're barely one income combined.
Because we both work for ourselves. I think we mentioned this in the last podcast, but if you don't know, we both work for ourselves. And so it's really exciting because sometimes we have really, really high seasons and we're like, woo, we're doing good. Like we feel like we can actually go out and get groceries this week. Yeah. And we can get like cat toys. And then other weeks we're like, oh, okay, I don't know if we're ever going to pay off our loans. Are we ever going to get a car that runs?
We're fine.
I had to say
And we have a lot
goodbye
of
to one
friends
of
that
my
have
cars
blessed
this
us.
week.
Yeah.
That was also sad.
Yeah. And it disappeared. The guys just kind of showed up and took it. And you're like, bye,
Yeah,
Sven.
I did a Cash for Clunkers thing online. And it was weird because I filled out a couple different ones just to get like a quote and try to see like who's going to pay the best price. Because it had a lot of good material. It wasn't like a piece of junk. Like it just needed a new transmission. But we just were like, we're not going to pay that anymore. And so I got texted by like 4 different people. And I was like, who's coming to pick
First
it
come, first serve.
Yeah, I didn't know
Over
who was coming to
$300.
pick it up. And it was just a whole thing. But anyway, if you're interested in Cash for Clunkers, I got $348 for our car. The transmission doesn't work anymore. But it was sad. It was like my car that I got right when I graduated college. So it's like, goodbye.
Yeah. As of now, we both have lost the car that we had when we met.
Yeah.
And so all of our first dates and all of that, making out in the front seat and all that, sorry about
steam.
everyone that just had to picture
Well, just,
that.
yeah, all the memories. Like we use those cars. You drove all the way to California multiple times in
yeah.
Gertie. That was Ian's car, Gertie.
Gertie and Sven. I had Gertie and you had Sven.
Yeah.
I got that car on October 12th, 2017 with 83,000 miles.
You know the day?
It It was 5 days before I went to LA.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
My
You know the
parents
day.
surprised me. I left on October 17th. And by the time it died, I got T-boned like a year and a half, 2 years ago almost now.
Mm-hmm.
Had 212,000 miles on it. So
Yeah,
from
we drove
2017
that.
to 2022, in 5 years, I went from 83,000 to 212,000.
That was the car you picked me up for our first date in.
Yeah, little red 2-door Honda Accord.
I didn't know. I don't care about cars. Like I've never cared about what someone
I
drives.
feel like that car fit my personality, but it
But
also
it
kind of
was
did.
a little interesting. I was like, oh, like here's this guy who just rolls up in like a cherry red car, 2-door, and like when you have the 2-door, you have to like, oh, I gotta get something from the back seat. You have to like pull it forward. Like it's just a little different.
It's
but I was
awkward
like,
to drive
okay.
more than one person.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So we said goodbye to your car
Say
a
goodbye to
year ago,
yours.
and then mine, like it had died in July, but then
Over the past 4
it was just
years,
sitting
we're putting a couple
in front of our house.
$1,000 into it every year to keep it afloat. So when the transmission, it was the transmission control module.
And I only paid $6,500 for
Yeah.
it. So at this point, we had put $6,500
Yeah.
in it, and it's like I'm done with that.
And
Like,
once that went out, it was like, okay, you can pay $2,500 to fix it and then maybe sell it for that. And so, yeah, we had to say bye. My parents blessed us by giving us a car pretty cheap, aka free kind of.
and then shout out to the best people in the world.
Oh my gosh,
Our
the
friends, the
Zimmermans.
Zimmermans, are letting us borrow a vehicle. That's been a game changer because we like truly like we don't have the funds to just buy even a used car, which is always what we do. Like
Yeah.
you can't just buy one anymore for $8,000, $5,000.
Almost got scammed at one point. Like we were trying,
It's crazy.
but yeah, they've let us borrow their car in busy season. So we've gotten through that.
Yeah.
We have
If
some
you want to hire us so we can get a vehicle that is not
or if you
200,000
have a
miles.
vehicle that you're selling.
None of like Huck is basically dead. And then
Yeah,
our
our
other one's
camper
200,000
van's
miles. So
dead.
we have no car that's under 200,000 miles that's ours.
100%.
Or that gets any gas mileage that's decent. Maybe we'll start biking everywhere. It's going to be great.
Yeah. We'll
Anyway.
finally get in shape, I've been looking to lose some weight, so.
Oh gosh. Well, I went on my morning walk, so you should do
So
that.
if you see a speck of dust float by, it's India.
If you see a speck of dust, I ate a salad yesterday. Anyway, all right, I think we're going to do the theme song. Theme song. I think I look so pretty and literally look at my eyebrow.
I'll take a picture of mine.
Just always look, and then you always look handsome. So, like I mentioned, today is basically the day before our anniversary. So I thought it'd be really fun to talk about our wedding. Specifically,
Wait, I just had a panic attack because I thought today when we were filming this was the day before our anniversary, and I was like, I'm not prepped. But when it comes out,
this is coming out the day before our
I
anniversary.
got a couple days.
Yes, you have a couple days.
Continue.
But I thought it'd be fun to talk about our wedding because we've never talked about it on like, a podcast or something before.
Oh, yeah.
Just, I feel like I hear so many girls who've gotten married, like they'll recap it or they'll talk about it openly or on social media. But the groom never really says much. Like the husband's always just like left out of the conversation.
A lot of times they didn't plan it and they
True.
were just looking forward to the night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
PG. Are you
I
going to
don't-
get a little E on this one?
Yeah, we'll put an
this
explicit.
podcast.
Well, when the KDB Funk episode comes out,
yeah.
that's my explicit one. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't know if you had any thoughts about how the planning process went. I don't know. We just kind of talk about all of it because it was such a unique thing. We got married during COVID 2020. And we chose that kind of specifically, not because we wanted a COVID wedding. No one wants a COVID wedding. But we got engaged March 7th of, dude, look at
Of 2020.
Sanka right now with your new scarf.
It's wrapped up in a scarf playing with a cat toy, looking
Like a
incredibly
fake
French.
Burberry scarf. Look at him. Very demure, very mindful. Anyway, we're kind of crazy with our cats right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you proposed on our 1 year dating anniversary, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then COVID happened
1 year.
5 days later.
What was I doing?
I know, we'd only dated for a year.
Yeah, but you also
You were
sent me
really
a
ready to
link.
get married,
You,
babe.
you sent me the link to your ring on our first date.
It was kind of a joke. We were walking around a mall and you were like, oh,
And now you have that ring.
do you like gold or silver? And I was like, oh, actually like rose gold. And specifically like, I just found my like ring that I really
Text
like.
me
It was
the
like,
link.
it was like normal. It didn't feel weird.
Uh-huh.
It felt
And I
okay.
saved that link. And I got that ring.
Well, you also gave me a heart attack because you were like, I couldn't, it's so expensive. Is it okay if I don't? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. But then I was like, is he going to give me like a little like gumball machine ring?
You still would have said yes, right?
Yeah. I was glad you got me this one though. I love my ring. Absolutely no regrets about my ring. It's my favorite. It's beautiful. It's from you.
Ladies, send your guy a link to what you want because we can try our best, but there's so many options.
And we had gone like ring sizing. Like we went to Tiffany's and tried on stuff. Not that we were going to get something from Tiffany's.
Me proposing
just
wasn't a
for fun.
surprise because we had talked about it.
Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't a surprise because we did have to talk about it because of all the
we did have to
things
talk
we can't
about
say.
it. Yeah.
There was like some
If you know,
drama,
you know.
but we had to like
IYK.
talk about it. And so just to make sure I was like okay with it because there was some other like extenuating circumstances. Extenuating. But it was, you had that ring like with you for a while.
I think since February, like early February, so almost a month and about a month.
You crazy boy. We were
And
like,
I had it in my pocket multiple times when I was with her.
yeah, we were like, because I lived in Pittsburgh at the time. We were working at an event in Pittsburgh and you were like showing it to my coworkers and I had no idea.
Yeah, I was like, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Yo, Tyler, Pete.
I was like later you told me, I was like, why did you bring the ring to this like work event?
Just in case the Lord was like, do it now. I wanted to have a whole plan, but
I'm not on a crazy work.
Man's likes to be prepared.
But it's not romantic. I was like sweaty and working and tired and having a like.
But if you were sad and I could give you jewelry, that might help.
That's not what I don't want to be proposed to while I'm like working. Like, oh, thank you. Let me put my camera down. Yes. Anyway,
that's why I didn't do it that way.
Yes, thank you for waiting.
I liked the pressure of having it with me and being like,
I don't know if I've ever said our whole engagement story on the podcast. So do you want to, from your perspective, like share the story?
Yeah, I think since we're doing mostly like wedding regrets and stuff, I'll give kind of the quick version if that's okay.
I don't remember if we talked about this though.
Yeah, I don't know. So sorry if this is redundant and if you already know, but the quick version is I loved this lady back then. About a year after, I mean, we said we loved each other like 3 months into our relationship. And I know that women usually like to be done up a little bit, hair looking nice, nails did, in a nice fit, you know, for their engagement. And my whole life I was thinking about like, how am I going to propose? How am I going to propose? And so I was trying to think of all these awesome things. I was like,
your whole life?
Skydive it and mow it into a
you were
field of
thinking
roses.
about this like your whole life?
Oh, I was like, how am I going to?
Because that's cute. Because I feel like girls always like we always think about our wedding and like how you're gonna get proposed to, but that's so romantic.
Yeah, and so like I wanted to do something
so
crazy,
nice.
but at this point I had just gotten back from Los Angeles. I had 50 cents to my name. I spent the rest because I spent all of my money on that ring. And I was like, I want to take her somewhere. I want to fly to the Swiss Alps. I want to go somewhere memorable. And I was like, I just can't. But I hope, you know, my love is like enough. And so I'm going to propose and then I'll promise like an awesome life after this of adventure. And, you know, once we get further in our careers, like I'll be able to provide that. But even if I can't propose that way.
It's like a coupon book. Like when it's like, I will give you unlimited back rubs.
Yeah.
Like.
And so like this wasn't ideal, but I still wanted effort to be put into it. So long story short, India was working in Pittsburgh at the time. I was like, how do I make this happen? How do I get her back to Ohio without being suspicious? So I contacted her boss, shout out Pete Chase at the time, and was like, hey, is there a way that you can fake some kind of like, India was working on the magazines and the social media and the photography and the graphic design, like come up with some, you know, job she has to do back in her hometown to get her back this way. And he's like, yeah, I got you. So we kind of just pitched it up and you zoned out a little.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
He kind of pitched it out at an office, like, you know,
it was
meeting.
crazy.
And he's just like, hey, we need someone to go. Like, India, that's your hometown. You kind of want to go. And then she's like, yeah.
Because
to do a story on like one of your best friends.
I did all the visuals for this nonprofit. So we would do, you know, 2 magazines a year and I would do the photography for it and the graphic design. And so they would send me to a campus, like a college campus, to photograph the students. And usually the writer would go and kind of capture the story and I would like photograph everything, come back and design it. And so basically, yeah, in a work meeting, they pitched this so casually as like, oh yeah, that CCAD where you went to school. Why don't you do a story on
there was this
that girl
girl
Emily? Isn't
named
she a friend of
Emily.
yours? And I was like, yeah, she's one of my friends.
And
Blah blah.
Emily had just like gotten a presidential award, and she had like spoken at the CCO, whatever. And so I was like, this is a perfect cover story to get India back. She's friends with Emily, so Pete played it off perfectly, and India's like, yeah.
Literally so casually. He's just in the middle. He's like, why don't you just go to Columbus this weekend? And just sips his coffee, and I was like, okay, if you think so. He's like, yeah, just photograph Emily, whatever. And not knowing that Ian has this elaborate plan. He's been working with Emily to get me to Columbus.
Yeah, I met up with Emily, brought her a latte, and handed her a note to give India to do this whole plan. And so on my side of it, though, I wanted India to not be suspicious. So I faked being out of town.
And you faked it well.
I had a lot of film buddies and that I had done a lot of shoots with, and they own Ghost Label Video. So they met up with me and said that I was doing like a social media takeover for the day during this shoot. So I took over their social media, and he sent out a call sheet that India saw of this film shoot, quote unquote, that we were doing in Indiana. And so we packed up the van, we got in the van, everyone got to the place. Like, and I'm capturing this on social, so India's seeing it. And we like leave in the van, we go down the road.
The context. I stayed with your family because
you were back in town.
Yeah, because that's kind of where I stay when I would come back
Emily
to Columbus.
Had just moved, and so you were staying with them.
I think you were there and like one night, and then you're like, I have to leave early in the morning, and I was like, okay, and I stayed in the guest room, and you left the next morning.
I left for Columbus to fake this film shoot.
And then I got Chipotle with your mom, Izzy and Ellie. Then
Our nieces.
met with Grace and Emily for coffee at Upper Cup.
Didn't you do the painting of the ceramics as well?
Yeah, we like did a little activity.
Like hung with my mom and my nieces.
This was so elaborate. And then you were like, bye, like on the road. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm just hanging out with my, boyfriend's mom today.
And his nieces.
That's so funny. I forgot about that.
She thinks I'm in Indiana. She's back from Pittsburgh. And even though I wanted to do something more crazy, I had reached out to some of your college friends, and I was like, to get her dressed up, I was like, what's the most fancy, event happening in Columbus? And there was an opera going on.
Like an orchestra or something.
Yeah, it was like an orchestra, opera, whatever thing. And so I faked like the tickets and gave them to her friends that were doing a film shoot, a fake film shoot at Schiller Park. They're also filmmakers, your college friends. And they had reached out and were like, hey, we have this extra ticket to go to this thing. I hear you're in town. Do you want to go? And so I faked it as a film shoot because if she saw cameras at the park, she wouldn't be suspicious. And so Emily brings her to the park, and I chose this park because we spent a lot of our first date there.
It was so elaborate.
And so even though it wasn't in one of the prettiest places in the world, I was like, it still needs to be sentimental to us. So we spent a lot of our first date, had a lot of our hardest initial conversations at this park. Really started to kind of love one another for like who we were, regardless of our flaws, our shortcomings, our past, our future, dreams.
And I think when Emily was driving me to Schiller, I remember saying like, "Oh, that's so funny! Like this was one of our first dates," and we were talking about. She's like, "Do you think he's gonna propose soon?" I was like, "I hope so." Like we talked about it, and I gave him
Shout
the
out
green
Emily,
light.
you did so well.
It was, I'm really, I feel like I'm really perceptive. Like I can kind of tap in on a plan and kind of like sniff out a surprise. And you did a really good job of making it so.
I had to make you think that it wasn't happening.
Yeah. But the only thing, and I still like joke about this, the only thing that could have been a little different is because I thought I was hanging out with Emily, Lane, and Kevin, 2 guy friends and my girlfriend, Emily. That I was like, oh, it's just like Lane and Kevin. I don't need to get like fancy. So I wore like an okay outfit, like a black romper. But my hair was like natural. I didn't have a ton of makeup on because I was like, it's just Lane and Kevin. Like, I don't need to look cute. Like Ian's out of town.
Yeah, I have a boyfriend. So like, why would I do myself up for other guys in the group?
So that's my only regret is that I didn't look super fancy.
So I thought you looked great, but I could tell as soon as I walked out, you started like pulling back your hair. You're like, oh my God.
I was like, oh my, I had like an ugly cardigan. I was like, oh,
I thought it looked
get
great.
This off.
And it was like a romper. It was a black romper with like some floral stuff.
I threw my cardigan off because it was like it had like gray fuzz everywhere, and it was just one to keep me warm. And as soon as Emily we start walking through the park and she like whips out the note and I look at her and I was like, no. And then she like pulled out the camera and was like, surprise. And so I like knew at that point. So I like yanked my cardigan off and I was like, I'm not getting proposed to looking ugly.
And I bought like a projector and a screen to put up, but it wasn't like dark enough for that to happen. So I put it on a laptop with all these lights and stuff. Like I tried to make it cute on the little stage there. And you watched a little video for 2 minutes while I kind of snuck up behind you because it was like a long field I had to go across. And snuck up behind you. You said yes. All the cameras were there capturing video and photo.
That was funny. I didn't expect so many film people, like, because film people.
The film team that like was helping me pack to go to Indiana showed up with some cameras to capture that and some photo friends. And so, yeah, she said yes. And
I said yes.
6 days later, the world shut down and we had to plan a COVID wedding.
Bruh. Yeah. So that's kind of the thing leading into our wedding day regrets. Again, I don't regret the wedding because it brought us the marriage. And that's something I try to communicate to my clients all the time is like, it's a party to celebrate a covenant marriage. Like it's not supposed to be, all about the party, but there is some elements of like, you want to have a fun time. And I think the wedding can be a lot of fun. You can have a little taste of like what heaven's supposed to be like all your loved ones around, like everyone's happy. Like it should be a really great day, but it doesn't have to be. We're only
doing this once.
Yes. And so there's that element of like, I understand why people want it to be like the best party ever and they put so much emphasis on it, but also like it should be about the marriage. So I don't regret our wedding day, but there's little elements to like looking back, I'm like, dang, I wish that was different. And the biggest one obviously is it was during COVID and we couldn't really control that. Like, I guess, we could have said, hey, we'll just wait this out. But in our circumstances, like,
we had no idea how long it was going to last.
Yeah, there was no vaccine at that point. We had no idea when COVID was going to be over. We had only like just gotten engaged. And we personally, like I was living in Pittsburgh. You were living in Delaware, Ohio. We didn't want to live together before we got married. We were like waiting until marriage for physical stuff. So we were like, do we literally just wait this out indefinitely where we live in different states, don't like have any sense of like home together until ? Like that just didn't feel like the right move.
Yeah. And so I remember sitting at my parents' dining room table one time when you were in town, kind of planning out some things. We both wrote down some tentative dates that we were thinking. And the two main ones were November of 2020. Let's just like do it as soon as possible.
Which would have been like 5 months at that. Like, I mean, months away.
This is like, we got engaged in March and this is a couple months later we're talking. And so this is like 4 or 5 months away. Or March, because we wanted it to be a little warmer. We wanted to try for an outside wedding. Early November's kind of chancing it with Ohio. It could either be 80 degrees or snowing. Like you never know. And we're just like, hey, we love each other. We want to get married. We don't know how long this is going to last.
Yeah,
so
it was either like
November.
A 6 or 7 month engagement or a 1 year engagement. And the other thing about March was just like, it'd be a 1 year engagement, but you have no guarantee about the weather and nothing's usually in bloom in Ohio until late April, maybe early May.
Just look dead. And we're hoping for some fall leaves if we hit November.
Yeah. And I guess like my ideal, I don't know if we ever talked about this. Maybe we did. My ideal wedding day for us would have been like August or September, late evening summer vibe where like everyone's outside,
a late sunset,
dancing under the stars, like that, like warmer atmosphere.
Well, you just told me now. I didn't know that, or else that would have happened.
Well, no, that's what was hard is that like at that point, like if you got engaged in March, that's like almost impossible to pull off that by August. And again, I was like working a job and doing photography. I had my own clients, so it's like I had limited Saturdays that were available because I was still shooting other people's weddings.
Yeah.
So.
And we're like doing premarital counseling. We're going through a lot of personal stuff I think
there's so much.
I think engagement is a beautiful time to continue dating. And like, it's like, hey, that's the promise of like, we're going to try our best to work towards marriage. I really want this to happen, but we're going to dive into the deep stuff and see if this is the best fit possible. Yeah. So I think engagements are really exciting, but also kind of the toughest time to really, rub out some of the dents and stuff and figure out if this is what you want to sign up for life.
Well, the other thing was with COVID, since you did film, you were mostly like the in-person film guy for most of the events going on. So like the Arnold, all the sporting events going on in Columbus, a lot of in-person commercials. So as soon as COVID happened and every in-person event got canceled,
6 months of clients immediately.
We get engaged, and within a week, Ian's basically like out of work.
Yeah. I even applied for unemployment at one point because I was like, I lost every single client because everyone just started holding on to their money. You couldn't be in person. And so we're trying to plan a wedding with me having no money on unemployment.
And I lived in Pittsburgh, obviously, in a house with other roommates. And then when all this was happening, we were like, we'd rather be together during a pandemic than apart, because why would I want to live with a bunch of strangers in a different state when I don't even have to go in person to work, when I could live with you, your parents, and at least
save
see
money too.
my friends who are close, you know.
And save some money while we were trying to figure out how to afford a wedding.
So we like moved me out, I think in May, maybe June.
Yeah.
It might have been sooner
within
than that.
a couple months of COVID happening.
Yeah. And so it was just like a lot going on. So there was no way we could have pulled off a summer wedding.
We moved out in October and you were there for probably close to 6
I lived with
5
your
months.
parents for,
So it's probably May.
yeah, probably 5 or 6 months.
May to October.
Because most of the summer we were there doing COVID things. Uh-oh, he's going to push that mirror down.
Yeah. 1 second, gotta save the cat.
Yeah, it was just a wild time overall. But somehow we decided, like, hey, God has blessed our relationship. And even though it's not ideal, we'd rather get our lives started together sooner rather than later. And so I think I'm grateful for the amount of time. I don't think we needed a longer engagement. Again, it just like sucks the timing of COVID.
And we wanted some answers on a couple of things in our relationship. And for better or for worse, we got answers on those things.
Yeah.
And so we just had a lot of peace moving forward of like, okay, there's closure on how everything's going to kind of land, whether we get married or not, or like whenever we get married. It's like whether we get married now or later, we kind of know where the cards are going to land with certain aspects of our life. And so we're like, let's go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't regret the amount of time we had. I think a longer
I
engagement.
encourage short engagements.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, if you know, kind of thing. Like,
No.
I just think, I mean, any time that you need is fine. I think the longer engagement, the only benefit would have been like more time to like DIY things, because I did a lot of like the decor by hand.
Yeah, not more time to save up money, because I don't think weddings, if you want to spend a lot of money on your wedding, sure, like it's a special day, but I'd kind of rather take like a $15,000 honeymoon than a $15,000 wedding.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But it's like, it's not more time to save up money. It's more time to DIY those things and make the wedding we wanted look the way we wanted while still saving money. Because I appreciate that about you. You're always kind of like frugal with me.
Well, if we're going to be real about it, like honestly, our whole wedding budget was $15,000, which
I think that's about
I don't
right.
think you can. I mean, you can do it, but that was 2020. And I feel like even with that limited budget, like we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, we got lucky with like a new venue that also partnered up with really good catering, and they kind of bundled it in. They didn't,
I just think
their
that's
prices
great.
were
Like
low.
I'm pretty impressed with
And we
us.
have a
Honestly,
ton of friends that came in clutch with the wedding cake and the floral design, and shout out to everyone that helped. And,
yeah. I mean, it did take a village.
That just did so much.
Like, you know, a couple
Candace
people
that made
contributed.
your brother that made
but mostly the finances were like pretty much all us. Like I think we had
mostly you, because I had no money because of the ring.
Yeah. So shout out to my clients, because that helped me out. But yeah, I mean, we spent the most on our photographer, and then the venue were the two biggest expenses.
Thank you, Chris Scamra, for filming. I still haven't gotten our wedding video together.
We had a friend do the flowers, which saved us honestly thousands. Like we bought everything from Trader Joe's. We foraged our flowers from like you pulled over the side of the road.
Yeah, we just drive around. Oh my gosh, one time in the middle of the night, I pulled off a road because they had those big like floofy.
The pampas grass.
And I had scissors and knives, and I'm like hoping not to get arrested by the police. And like 3 different nights I went out to like collect this.
Yeah. So like, I mean, we did a lot of like DIY stuff, but those are the things. Okay. Here are the things I don't regret about our wedding. I don't regret the DIY flowers, because we had a really great helper. So Elizabeth did an amazing job with that.
But I also wish we had like 10 times more flowers.
It's true. I mean, flowers are amazing, but I'm glad we did a mix of like dried and live. I think that really helped everything look cool. I don't regret
you're a huge fan of live flowers.
DIYing, but I do think I could have done a little bit more, like, effort's the wrong word. I think I was just like at the end, just like, okay, we just have to like get this done. But like, there's ways that I would DIY things a little differently. Like these are just me being like specific, but like we saved all of our kombucha bottles, wine bottles, like all the glasses. I had all of our friends and family save glass bottles. And then I had my friends over and we like painted them like natural textures, kind of like these like candlesticks almost, like just this like spray painted with like natural textures and stuff. So that was kind of our centerpieces.
I built like a little photo station out of like PVC
Yeah.
pipe.
We spray painted it gold or
with
rose
dried
gold.
flowers. Like we DIY'd a lot.
Yeah.
Made you what's it called? The little.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. This is so cute. Ian literally surprised me. He learned how to macrame and he found this piece of driftwood.
Yeah. Shout out Delaware State Park.
From the park.
I was disc golfing and found it and carried this giant log for the rest of my.
And you kept it at Josh's house.
Yeah.
And he would secretly macrame. Who has a fiance that's secretly macrameing a backdrop for our sweetheart table? Mm-hmm. That was so cute. What the heck?
Candace's was better, so we used that one for the A-frame where we got married.
Well, both were perfect. But yeah, my friend Candace made one for our actual wedding, which was nice because then we kept that above our bed. That was a little treat. I mean, yeah, but honestly, all that would have been thousands of dollars to have a custom macrame piece when we had 2 of them. You freaking learned. I don't even have the patience to learn. That was really sweet. That was really cute.
I just watched Josh play video games and I macrameed.
What a wholesome man. So you did that.
You planned a lot of the wedding. I had my opinions, and a lot of times this happens. Like you said, girls growing up have kind of a vision of what they want their wedding to be like, and you thankfully brought me into that vision. Was like, hey, does this match with yours? I know you're creative as well.
Well, praise the Lord, my vision changed since middle school.
Oh my gosh,
middle school
we would have
Pinterest
had
was
pink
rough.
Converse on, and
it was a lot of the chevron, the kind of bendy stripes, triangle stripes, kind of. Ew. And yeah, the rainbow and a Hunger Games wedding cake.
I would have still been down for that.
I'm glad all that changed.
But yeah, you invited me into the vision, and you did a lot of the planning, and we had some, hard conversations and times when you thought I wasn't, given enough to the planning. Because you were doing a lot and financially provided a lot because you had more finances.
But
than me.
I also liked the planning. I think what was annoying about that season was there were so many external stressors with COVID and other personal situations and drama going on that I started getting really stressed. Not about the wedding though. Just about everything happening and all the pressure and all this stuff going on in the world.
And I was thankful though that because so many people can get so caught up in the stuff that doesn't matter as much as the spouse and start to be rude and short with the spouse and be mean to them and degrade them and belittle them.
Which I mean.
You didn't do that. You kept your priorities straight on this is about us getting married, and hopefully all of these other things go well, and they are important, but not as important as the goal of us being married at the end of the day. And I'm really thankful you kept that, because that would have been difficult for me if I felt like the decor was more important than me. If I felt like the flowers had to be perfect and you cared more about that than me. That would have been really, really tough. And you made me not feel that way at all. I really felt prioritized entire time. And so ladies, prioritize your men. The wedding will still work. You'll be married at the end of the day. And men, help your wives, soon to be wives. Show up in ways that they need you. Yeah.
And it was fun. I like the crafts and I like the planning part of it.
Yeah. And at this point you had moved back in with my parents from COVID.
So it was fun. I mean, I didn't mind
with me. I was
designing invitations, and I was drawing wedding dress ideas and all that stuff. I didn't mind that at all.
You almost didn't get your wedding dress on time.
Oh my gosh. So that's the other thing that's crazy about wedding plans that all of you who have done this probably understand, is that the dress, everyone has their own timeline for things. And that's something that I didn't know. And I've been in the wedding industry for forever. I didn't know that you can't just walk into a wedding dress shop and say, hey, can I take that dress today? They'd be like, no, you need to wait 6 to 9 months for alterations, or we have to order a different size, or we have to backlog something, or we only have this in one color, or
this is a display one. We have to actually go get it made now.
Yeah, off the rack stuff is more rare than I thought. And even so, it's super expensive and it's just as is, and you have to get alterations, which takes so long. So that whole process was different than I thought it was going to be. I always envisioned the say yes to the dress moment.
I don't regret your wedding dress, though.
Oh, I love my wedding dress.
It was nice.
I love it. It was expensive, but I love it.
That lower back, though.
I loved it a lot. But I always envisioned the wedding dress experience being I'd have all my friends with me and we'd go and try on them, and then they'd look.
COVID.
But COVID, and you had to do these appointments, and you could only bring 2 or 3 people. So I did one day with your mom and Mel, and then I did one with
my sister-in-law,
my mom and my aunt in Cleveland.
That's her aunt.
Then I did. I think I did something else.
Didn't you do one with Molly and?
Nope.
Elizabeth.
I never had one with my friends.
Oh.
because it was all like you had to plan everything and get a specific
and
date.
you're like wearing masks, trying to envision yourself in this wedding dress.
And
with
you're
a
like
mask
in your
on.
bra and your mask, and you're standing there like, okay, what if the straps were like? It was just like not the vibe.
Yeah, I hated standing there in my bra and my mask. It was.
But what ended up happening was I found one on Pinterest that I really liked. Went to their website. They were California based.
That was one of the other big expenses.
Company.
You got the wedding dress you wanted.
That's what I said, right? Oh
think
yeah.
so.
Wedding dress was almost the same price as the photographer. It was $1,000 cheaper.
Was it really?
Yeah, my wedding dress was $2,400.
Wait,
Right,
we only paid $3,400 for a photographer?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You can't do that anymore
Can't
for
do
good
that anymore.
pictures.
No.
I'm expensive.
Thank you.
Thanks, Riley. Yeah, I found a dress designer on like through Pinterest. They're in California. And they were like, you could either come in to our showroom in California. I was like, okay, I'd love to do that, but I can't.
COVID.
Or you can order like a sample dress at home. You can order like multiple designs, I think 2 or 3. And then you pay $50 to order the sample. And if you end up buying the dress from them, then that just goes towards your order.
Yeah.
And the thing that I thought was cool about it was whatever dress you decide, they custom build it to your measurements. So it's not like I'm just ordering a size 4 dress from wherever. It would be like, oh, I type in my actual sizes
Your
and
awesome hips,
they
your little waist.
build it to my measurements. So by the time I figure all this out and I order the dresses, I was at your parents' house and I have pictures of me like trying them on.
You got a backup dress.
Yes. So I order this dress, and as I place the order, it says like we had picked our wedding date was November 7th, 2020. As soon
Gentlemen,
as
remember your wedding date.
I type in everything and I place the order, it says, thanks so much for your order. Your dress will arrive November 18th, 2020. And I was like, no.
And
I
this
just
is after
paid,
months of conversations and fitting on, and like you're like,
Yep.
yeah, this is our date.
I just
we need
paid
it.
$2,200 for this dress. I'm like, no. And so I like immediately call them. And I was like, hi, I just ordered a dress.
It's like this old grandma and grandpa couple in LA.
Yeah, I was like, can I please guarantee it's going to be there by the 7th, like by my wedding day?
We'll try our best.
And they're like, yeah, we'll try our best. And I was like, no, can I pay extra? And they were like, yeah, you can expedite it. So I paid, I don't know, $200 or something to get it expedited to make sure it would be there. And he goes, okay, it'll be there by November 5th. And I was like, great, 2 days before the wedding, iconic. So then I did like go to some other website was having a sale, and I bought one for like $250, just an on sale dress that I honestly liked.
Yeah.
It would have been fine,
Don't you
but
still have that?
I
Or
do.
did you-
if anyone needs a dress. And so I went ahead and bought a backup dress just in case. I mean, these are the silly things you spend money on when you're just like, what if it doesn't come in? Like, but thankfully this is so funny. I was literally at our apartment on Ambleside Drive, and Grace was there and Emily or someone else, and the dress arrives and the guy comes up to the door 2 days before the wedding. And that was my first time putting it on. Was 2 days before the wedding. Like, what if it didn't fit?
A month before
There's
our
no
wedding,
time for anything at that point.
Yeah, a month before our wedding, we got her an apartment to kind of separate us for the last month in preparation for marriage.
And just to give me
and so
some
you were
space.
there to like get some space,
Like,
mentally
put
collect
all the
yourself,
decor out,
get
like-
everything prepared. And 2 days before the wedding, her dress shows up, and it's like, this fits or it doesn't. There's nothing we
Praise
can
the
do
Lord.
at this
It
point.
fit like a glove. And I was like, yes.
Oh, it
like, it
did.
looked so good. I look good.
You look great.
I like that
Yeah.
dress.
And guys, like, wear your suits, whatever, like spend however much you want. But I got mine from Express. I think it looked great.
Yeah.
I spent $300 on it.
We went to
And
the
so
mall, and
these
you
are
were
ways
like,
that you save money. Is like, I was
Well,
got a
that's the
3-piece
thing.
suit, fit me really well. I found a company that I knew fit my body type. Express was great for that. And it worked for $300.
that's what I was going to say is like I asked, I was like, do you want a nice suit or whatever? You're like, I always like the way Express suits look on me.
Yeah.
Like you already knew like
Yeah.
which brand you liked, and you can't tell the
And
difference.
I didn't have a suit that nice, and I was like, I don't want to rent something that I just send back for $300. So why not get one that I get to keep?
Yeah.
And got a nice tie, got a nice shirt, all that, and like my wedding band. I love this thing. It's classic gold. It's just like my grandpa's and my dad's, and also $300. And so it's like these are ways that you can save. It's like it works just the same. And I thought it looked great, but then we got to splurge on places like the wedding dress, which is like it was perfect.
I know it is weird though, because like you spent like $300 on a suit from Express, and I spent $2,000 on a dress from
2,300.
California. Yeah,
But I mean, they're there's only so much you can do with the suit. Like I'm sure once you get into the higher stuff, and I've spent thousands of dollars on a suit, sure I could get something unique, but I didn't want that. I wanted something classic. Well, I wanted your dress to be everything you wanted. So don't regret the dress.
Yeah. I'm grateful that you let me splurge on those things, but I also would have like been totally cool if you would have been like, yeah, I want to do a different kind of outfit or something. Yeah. Like, and it's just interesting. Girls are expensive with weddings.
We went through the budget, and also people know to up price everything for the
woman. Any white dress at any store is going to be more expensive, even if it's the same style as
or
like
you get a cake,
a color.
But as soon as you slap wedding cake on that, it goes up by like $500.
It's the industry. And I mean, I understand that from a photographer's perspective too. There's just like, if someone hires me for an hourly rate, that is different than an hourly rate on a wedding day. There's just an industry standard to it, because there's also a level of expectations
and expertise on wedding stuff.
Yes.
There is a difference of all of these things.
Me
like
photographing
is different than any other dress.
Me photographing a high school football game for an hour is a very different set of expectations than me photographing your one wedding day for like 2 hours. It's like, okay, well, I need to know what to do in a number of circumstances
and how to handle the ever so moving day. And so we talked about the things that we wanted to prioritize. And that's something else that I don't regret. I know this is like what regrets on our wedding day, but I don't regret us talking about what we wanted to prioritize. And it was getting you the dress that you wanted and a good photographer and having as many of the people that we love there as possible, which that is actually one of my first regrets. It's I don't regret getting married as quickly as we did, but I do regret that I was like, I could make a list of 350 people that I want at our wedding. And we had 73. And that was maxed out for COVID, the most we were allowed to have.
That was what was hard, is that we picked a venue that I think they said they could do probably 150 guests or something. So we were like, all right, great. So we split our guest list in half based on like...
No, they could do 80.
No. That was inside.
Okay.
The outside, we could do 150 in the reception hall. So we were like, we were risking it. We're like, we're doing an outside wedding in November.
November 7th. So yeah, if it was an outdoor wedding, like if depending on how many people we invited... If we had 150 invites, we had to stay outside the whole time.
Right.
On November 7th.
So it was a hard choice, but we went through our guest list and basically said like, okay, who do we think would be like someone we really, really need to have in the room? And are there other friends that might feel more comfortable watching online, or we really want to be a part of the day and we'll just be able to only invite them online just purely out of COVID precaution and space.
And even then, like, sorry if you weren't invited, there were some people that we desperately wanted there that we just couldn't, because we ended up having it be bridal party and immediate family only pretty much.
Pretty much. We had a few extra friends, but that was about it.
Yeah. And so there are people like, you know, my godparents that I wish could have made it. And I don't remember what happened with that, but like COVID, traveling from New York.
Understand, because that's the thing, is everyone who wanted to come in.
You guys are fine that you didn't make it. We love you.
Yeah, I mean, like we had friends from Australia and Germany and California,
like people that we desperately wanted to celebrate with that we just couldn't. And I mean, I have family members and cousins that I love that I couldn't get there. And like,
well, the thing was too, we probably had 100 people RSVP yes to the in-person celebration, but the month of the wedding, like between October and November 7th, COVID hit a really bad peak. And a lot of our guests at that point got COVID, or were just super like concerned, or just in industries that we totally understand, like the healthcare industry or education, where they were like, I really can't attend because I'll get sick and give my, clients illness.
Or older people in our families and stuff, and friends, that it's like, hey, I love you, but I can't be around 60 to 70 other people right now just in case.
Our wedding planner too is my friend Carly, and she and her husband, like her husband's in the medical field, and she got COVID the month before and was like, I can't make it.
Like a week before.
So we had to switch, and our friend Erin took over, which she did an amazing job. But it was just like things like that you have to like pivot on a dime and be like, oh, okay, I guess someone else will do this. Like, what?
And one of the other things with COVID, I think COVID was the biggest regret, because both of us missed out on having a bridesmaid and a groomsman. I was flying in a buddy from LA, Luke Kadlicek, miss you, buddy, and like bought the plane ticket and everything. Ended up never being able to use the flight, never got a refund. He couldn't make it because he got COVID. And luckily he was going to walk down the aisle with the bridesmaids of yours that couldn't make it, also due to COVID. So our party went from 10 each down to 9 each.
At least it was even.
Yeah.
It was a wild time. But yeah, it's like that was out of our control. And honestly, I remember someone like unfollowed me because they were mad that we were getting married during COVID,
Yeah.
and they were like really, really like, no one should be doing this.
And so
And I understand it was a very hard time. And looking back, I am like, wow, like I can understand that would be a frustrating
it's impossible
choice.
to know what to do. And so
Just,
everyone had their own decisions.
But I was just like,
too.
whoa, like it is hard. How do you know what to do? And it was just, to me also, getting married, even though it's not all about the party, I do think you can't recreate that moment. And I didn't want to just run to the courthouse with you and just sign a document.
We wanted to
Like
try
it
our
just
best
didn't
to
for
have
us.
the celebration and the ceremony.
I think we needed our like people there. At least like I really wanted to see the littles on our wedding day. I wanted to see your family. I wanted to see like my friends when I like, you know, like that mattered to me to like have my friends like around. Like, I don't know.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't have felt right to me to elope or something like that. Just wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah, unless we eloped with those 73 people.
Yeah. So it was an interesting time. I think, regrets wise, COVID's just the biggest one.
Yeah, but also I don't regret the time that we did it because since then I've lost an aunt and an uncle.
It's true.
That were able to make it.
Like,
and so it's
like
like
pretty,
if we waited.
Yeah, like within a year or two, you know, like
we
they
would
wouldn't have been around.
Not been able to have those people there. And now they're some of my favorite memories is having them smile and celebrate and pray over and, you know, just celebrate our getting married. So,
and I wish Bart could have been
I
there.
know.
Cousin Bart and Shelby.
Bart.
Like, I regret that like not more. Yeah. Again, out of our control. A lot of people had to make a tough call and
most
decide
of
not to come
my
or something.
regrets are things out of our control.
Yeah.
I think you might have a few others like, oh, I would have done this differently, but mine was mostly about the people, I think.
Yeah. Mine too. Yeah. The other, getting into the more nitty gritty wedding regrets of like design and stuff. This one's just stupid, but like I just wasn't thinking about when you rent out a venue, it comes as it is. You are in charge of putting everything in it. So like the venue I thought was beautiful. I'm really happy with our venue, the Beverly Mansion, Marengo, Ohio. Stunning. But I didn't think about like, if we want lights for the dance floor, we have to get lights for the dance floor. If we want candles, we have to get candles. If we want linens, we have to get linens. Like,
and they were a newer venue, so they also let us, instead of like an open bar paying $5,000 for that, we were able to just put wine bottles out on the table. Originally, we were gonna have to have a bartender, but then we're like, we need like 20 bottle openers.
Yes.
To,
like, which honestly, if you're saving
about.
Money, if your venue allows, I liked that doing wine for the tables. Because our families aren't huge drinkers and our friends like are okay with,
just like
spending $10,000 on an open bar just wouldn't have made sense. It would have been fun.
If people are
but
coming
like
just for the bar,
it wouldn't have made
then
sense.
They shouldn't be at your wedding. They should be there for you.
I do wish we got a couple more bottles of wine because they went pretty fast.
Some of the aunts and mom, you guys went through more than your share of wine.
Well, I mean, 2 bottles of wine per table for an event, like it went fast.
It was maybe 3, so it was like about a half a glass each.
Yeah, so I would have
not
said
a half a
maybe,
glass, like a full glass each.
Maybe a few more of those, few more bottles of champagne. But yeah, open bar, we didn't need anything like that. Though I do think now that I attend all these fun weddings, I love when they do like cocktails named after their pets and stuff. Like I wish we would have done like the aubergine
and the Nermis queen.
But yeah, so I think I would have just like, maybe done a little more of an investment on the decor. I liked the DIY process, but I do think I would have like put a little more effort into it if there wasn't so much else going on, so many moves. I mean, we moved like 3 times in the middle of this. Yeah. And there's other things that like, if you're planning a wedding, you're like, should I spend a little more money on this? I think just the gift of time would have been helpful because when we did like our rehearsal dinner, I only booked the venue, or I think they only said
did it for 2 hours?
2.5 hours. And I think like just looking around, seeing all my friends and family like smiling and laughing at our rehearsal dinner, and then kind of noticing like the venue staff in the background, like, okay, time to leave. I wish I would have just paid the extra $200 to stay longer and not have to rush everyone out.
So like a 5-hour hangout with the people we care about. Because at that point, everything's planned or it's not.
This one's so dumb. I didn't even think about this because I'm such a dummy.
You're not a
I
dummy.
booked the Airbnb for us girls to stay in and you guys to stay in the night before the wedding, not even thinking that we had to check out like 10 a.m. the next morning on the wedding day. So our bridal party was like cleaning the Airbnb while I'm going to go get my hair and makeup done.
While we're also trying to...
Like I should have just booked it the extra day so that people could just stay.
And then we wrap at like 10 or 11 at night and everyone has to go home because we don't have the Airbnb again.
Exactly. So it's like,
And-
oh, like those things I would have maybe just given my bridal party, your friends the gift of like, hey, you have a place to stay tonight. No worries.
Yeah. But it's just wild how things add up.
Yeah.
I mean, groomsmen and bridesmaids presents and the entire cost of a wedding and Airbnbs.
It gets expensive. And yeah, we weren't like rolling in cash. So like a $15,000 budget. And like we wanted it to be nice-ish, like nicer for 75 people is still like, that goes fast.
And I think ultimately you gave like 7 or 8,000. I did like 3 or 4. My parents gave some. Your parents helped with some floral stuff.
A little bit,
things
yeah.
like that. But you paid for like half the wedding.
My aunt helped with my dress a little bit.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you like, we weren't rolling in cash, but India thankfully had a little bit
And
of
this,
savings.
keep
to
in
put
mind, this
towards
was
it.
1 year after I graduated college. So like, this was like my money, like
And this is 1 year after I got back
your
from
money.
LA.
Like we were like scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
But one good thing is don't forget, people write you checks when you get married. So not like a ton of money, but you get little gifts and that kind of helped too. Cause I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to get married and have $10 left. But then it was like, oh, okay. Like people were kind and generous and gave us a little something to start.
And this is a mix of generosity and a regret and I might be jumping forward a little much, but is our honeymoon.
Yeah.
Because the generous part was my parents gave us some of their vacation package but again with COVID a lot of the world was shut down. We weren't able to go to Banff, we weren't able to go to Italy, we weren't able to do the honeymoon that we wanted. So we
like
ended up
a
in
mini moon.
Yeah, which like thankfully was super cheap thanks to my parents' hospitality and generosity with that. Generosity, not hospitality. But it was kind of at a golf course in Arizona.
Yeah, it was super generous because they were like, hey, like we have this package. You can kind of pick a spot to stay in any of these areas for a really low rate. So we picked Sedona, Arizona, but it was like at a golf resort and we roll up and I'm like, day after we get married, I'm like, hey, we're on our honeymoon. And they go, great, here's your key. And I like didn't care. No champagne, no chocolate covered flowers, no discounts.
The bed was like in the kitchen.
Yeah, it wasn't romantic at all.
Yeah. And like there was like a hot tub and stuff, but then we ran into
retired
New York
guys.
Johnny or whatever his name is.
Johnny Vegas.
And like it was fun and I'm super thankful for it. And we got to go on hikes and see some beautiful places.
It was a great time, but it wasn't the honeymoon
so
we wanted.
So soon we're going to go take the honeymoon that we did want, but that is a regret of like, I always thought about our honeymoon being in someplace incredible and we just weren't able to. We weren't able to go. Also, if the camera's shaking right now, Sokka is playing soccer underneath it.
So 4 years later, we're going to go on our real honeymoon.
Yeah. So excited for that. Hitting up some of the cities in Europe that we've been wanting to. So
I'm excited. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, at the end of the day, again, it's about the marriage, not the party. But I do think the day and how you choose to celebrate it, how you choose to exchange your vows, how you choose to get married, that does matter. And I think it's fun to like put some effort into it. You don't, again, have to overemphasize things. You don't have to break the bank. You don't have to spend $100,000 on a wedding to make it nice. Like there are ways to.
4 years later, we're still married. It worked.
Yeah, it worked. But yeah, I do think some other things that were helpful that we DIY'd that I don't regret was like, again, asking friends and family. We had a bunch of people make desserts for us. Like we paid, my friend's mom is a baker and she did our wedding cake. Which was amazing. But other than that, we had friends and family bake cookies and filled a table with cookies and desserts. Your friend Joko like sang our song while we walked down the aisle.
Yeah.
Our friends Tinashe, Lauren, and Molly did a song while we did
worship stuff.
Our like foot washing ceremony thing.
Yeah.
Do you regret the foot washing?
I don't. I'm so glad we did it.
I think it was cool, but now I am like, oh, like feet are weird.
Feet are weird and I don't love them, but like I intentionally didn't wear socks so it wouldn't have to be like a sock over a wet foot and you have to take off my socks. And so like it was a little,
I thought it was
some blisters
sweet
and
it's like part of our faith, but I think some people think that it's weird.
Yeah, I liked that because like communion's with everyone and I like the communion ceremony as well. But foot washing is like us. Like that's literally what Jesus did and tells us to do. As like that was his posture is like entering into marriage with a servant heart and wanting to serve one another. Even something like feet are gross. But to wash them, they're even more gross back in the Middle East back,
I like the symbolism.
They're walking around in sandals. And so I think the posture of it and me being able to lead by doing that first and then you returning it. I am very glad that we did it because
Okay.
I think it's the posture of how we want our marriage to be is constantly serving one another.
Yeah, I like the symbolism of it because I do think it is a vision of marriage.
But
It's
my
like
naked piggy toes were shown out to the family to see. That
I know,
was a
but
little-
I guess like if you're not a Christian or if you don't have that context and you're like, ooh, you're washing feet at a wedding, like it's not sexy.
It's an opportunity to share the gospel. So I was thankful for it.
Yeah, and then the only other thing I regret about this ceremony is this is my fault. I wrote the vows the morning of the wedding. I
was about to say that's a good.
I meant to like write them out. I knew what I wanted to say.
We're both decent writers.
Yeah. I knew for a long time that I wanted this to be like poetic and theological and full of liturgies and allegory, and I wanted it to be
intimate of our story.
Yeah, I wanted it to be like really beautiful and to write and sit with the words and tell you everything that I felt. And I just didn't get the time. I didn't put the time in my schedule. So the morning of, I was like, okay, I'm going to make it peaceful and cute. And the vision of like Princess Diaries 2, when they like wake up in the morning and they're sitting under the tree next to the water, I was like, I will do that because there was like a little pond at our venue. And so after hair and makeup, I like went over and I sat in my pajamas next to the tree. And I was like, I'm going to write my vows on this watercolor paper. And I did, but they became so cheesy because I was just writing like something that kind of encapsulated it.
Yeah.
And it ended up being really cheesy.
That's one of my biggest regrets was not spending more time on the vows. I wrote them that morning as well. And
It's funny both of us have that.
I meant what I said.
Yeah.
But I wish I spent weeks kind of, as intentionally writing it as I would like a film or something.
Because the thing is, mine ended up being like, I promise to love you and you'll watch rom-coms with me. Like, it was stupid.
And I was like, and you're like, I promise not to cook with cilantro.
Yeah, I was like, India, like, and now looking back, I'm like, those vows were so lame.
But also, it's so us, like last second, like, oh, I really love you, and here's my
ADHD. But what I do think is cool is because we both agreed afterwards, like, we feel so much more than what we said. When we've worked weddings together and someone has really meaningful vows, we'll look at each other and be like, me too for you. But every
I wrote
year,
that 4 years ago. They're just hearing it now.
But because of our bad vows, every year on our anniversary, we write a letter to each other and kind of, it's not like a vow renewal.
Still only write it the morning of. Dang it.
Well, it's not a vow renewal, but it's kind of fun.
It's
we
like
reflect on the year and say like, hey, this is something I'm adding to, like a layer I'm adding to those vows we said all those years ago.
Depending on how we've grown in that past year, we then add on to those vows of like, hey, this is a new way that I've learned to grow to love you. And now I'm vowing this based off of where we're at. And so it's never a retraction of vows. Is that the right word? Like
we're just kind of adding on.
But we're adding on as we develop and grow because like, I never want to tell India, hey, don't ever change. I'm like, I hope you continue to change and grow. And as we grow, I want to continue to give you more vows of how I will love you as the new person that you're becoming. And so we do that every year, and I'm super thankful
I like
for
that. And so that's kind of a fun thing.
That's why I freaked out earlier in this podcast about our anniversary being tomorrow, because I was like, I got to get on those vow renewals.
No, you're good. We got time. Yeah, I think that's a fun tradition that came out of, a less than ideal vow situation. But yeah. It was good overall. I don't regret marrying you.
I don't regret marrying you.
So that's good.
Yeah.
I do regret one more thing.
Hit me.
I regret
not eating,
not having a better playlist ready because we had for the dance floor.
I liked it.
Okay.
VeggieTales.
So my boss and coworker, Pete and Tyler, who are like,
then later boss,
they're like low key, they were YouTubers back in the day, basically. They don't admit that. And they were super funny and a lot of fun. And so they came in from Pittsburgh to do the DJing stuff, which was super generous of them because we were, again, shoestring budget. Like, I think they paid for like renting all the gear.
They did out of their own pocket as like a wedding gift.
And we paid them in gift cards and
like
bourbon.
A bottle of bourbon. Sorry,
and then
guys.
got them like a really cheesy like hotel room to share. Two grown men. Nice.
Yeah. Probably one twin bed too.
Yeah, honestly. So, but the thing is, I was like, I'll make the playlist on Spotify if you guys could just like be the MCs and like, run the lights a little bit. And I didn't like, I was like, no line dances. And that's fine. Like, I still don't regret that because I don't love the cha-cha's nine.
Well, I just didn't want those. I didn't want those. Like, I love Cotton Eye Joe, but like, don't give me the cha-cha slide.
No.
Don't do those typical songs that get people on the dance floor. Our friends are good enough. They'll come out on the dance floor.
Yes. But I like didn't make it long enough or something, and we ran out of songs. And I remember Pete just being like, what do you want me to play next? And you were like, Justin Bieber. And he's like, you guys really like Justin Bieber. Like, that's all we could think about was just
I don't
like,
remember this at all.
Justin Bieber.
I was just
like,
having fun.
Like at the end of it, like I would have added more like Taylor Swift and like
of course
Journey.
you would.
Like, you know, the songs.
I would have regretted if we had more
songs that
Taylor
get all
Swift.
like the white people out on the dance floor, like the crazy, like,
stand up and shout.
yeah, like I don't know. There's all those songs that make like the suburban moms go nuts. Like I would have put all those in there just to make everyone go crazy a little bit.
I don't regret our first dance song or my first dance song with my mom.
Grow As You Go by Ben Platt was a great choice for a first dance song.
Yeah, that was, and because that's kind of like the renewal vows, right? Like grow as we go. And that's kind of been an anthem in our marriage.
I do. I remember we
for.
thought about that for a long time. We were like listening to multiple different songs and we kept going back to that one. I'm really glad with that.
Yeah.
And then you did something really sweet. Yeah. For his dance with his mom, he wrote.
I told her just to show up. I'm not going to tell you what song we're dancing to.
He wrote an original song and had it professionally recorded with his friend and played it. Like, not like live, but you like had it played while you did your dance.
Yeah. And it was just kind of a thank you to my parents. And then my dad came out at the end because he didn't have a daughter. So he never had a father-daughter
Wait, did
dance.
he?
And so at the end, I invited my dad out with my mom and I, and us three danced together.
I don't remember that.
And it was and like a thank you to them and how they brought me up and how they've supported me and how they loved me and loved India and brought her into the family. And so that was a really special moment. Besides marrying you, probably one of my favorite moments of the day was to be able to give them the thank you publicly to all of our closest people of how much they've done for me.
Yeah.
So, shout out to you guys. You guys are awesome. Thanks for all your support and love.
You guys.
And you haven't stopped. You've done really well just continuing to invest in our lives, and we really appreciate it.
My absolute last wedding day regret would be I feel so bad about this still to this day. I didn't visit tables.
Oh, yeah.
So you're so kind and you did. But here's what happened. The day goes so fast, guys. It goes so
it really
fast.
Does.
I mean, I remember like I got up at like 6 because I couldn't sleep. And I was hanging out with one of the bridesmaids and we were just talking about the day. And then we started with yoga and some friends bought me coffee. Like it was a sweet morning. I jumped in the shower, whatever, went over to the venue early, did hair and makeup, wrote the vows. And then I swear, like I got there at like 9 or 10. And then from 9 or 10, the ceremony is at 4:00. And I remember Riley, our photographer, got there at noon. And I was just like, oh, hey, I'm not ready. Like go do something, like grab a coffee, like, it just from
details,
somewhere from 10 to 4 just like flashed. We had a first look, which I don't regret at all.
Oh, don't regret
Did
that.
most of our portraits beforehand, which was a great choice. And then I just like, I don't know, the day just zoomed by. I helped set up a little, but mostly the bridal party was setting up. And then all of a sudden we were there and I was walking down the aisle. We did our vows. Kale did the ceremony. We're married. We hung out with the bridal party during cocktail hour, did some pictures. And then all of a sudden the sun was down and we were introduced. I don't really remember being introduced. I remember just being in the reception hall.
I just remember,
walking
Joko had to go home, the guy that did the worship song, because his wife was having a baby in Tennessee.
Like literally the next day.
So we had some like honorary Lane and Jordan walk in some bridesmaids, but I don't really remember
I don't remember us walking in.
I remember them walking in.
Weird. Like, I remember the picture. That's why pictures are so important because I only remember seeing our pictures. I don't remember us walking in. But then all I remember is everyone all day, all the advice I had gotten while I was engaged was please eat on your wedding day. Don't forget to eat on your wedding day. So I finally got to sit down and have
some salmon. It was
my
great.
Salmon and Brussels sprouts and mashed potatoes.
It was cold for you.
And so I remember sitting down and going, okay, I'm going to eat before speeches. And Ian, you took a few bites and then you were like, hey, I'm going to go say hi to my uncle or something.
I ate like half my plate really quickly and then was like...
And so I was like, great, I'll join you in a second. So I just started taking a few bites and then all of a sudden it was time for speeches. Like that moment just felt like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
I got like 20 seconds with each table, but you got none.
Yeah. And so I didn't mean to be rude at all, but I just felt like I was like as soon as the speeches started, I was like, oh, okay, I'll make a note. Like when they're done, I'm going to go around. But then when they were done, the dance floor opened.
Yeah.
And it was just like one of those things that like, I feel so bad because of COVID, you know, people were, you know, having their own precautions with germs. And so I didn't know if I should go around, but I ended up just not going around. And then all of a sudden the dance floor was open and people were just like, hey, I got to leave. And they started leaving. And I just felt so bad because there were people that I never even said hi to on our wedding day that were there. Like, I don't think like to your Aunt Cindy, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, like, I don't think I even said hi to her or Uncle Raj.
Yeah.
I didn't really say hi to
I remember
like
saying hi to both of them.
my college table, like Randy. Like, I don't think I said, hey, like I said, bye. I felt so bad. I feel like such a bad host. And yeah, it was just
But
bad.
people were still there to enjoy and celebrate us. And we're
I
sorry if
know.
we didn't get to say hi, but thank you for showing up.
I just feel like now
and
that
I don't even think we
see-
got all of our thank you cards out after
No,
the
we
wedding
never-
either. We were so
But like now that I go to weddings and I photograph them all the time, I see my couples take a couple bites and then they work their way around the room, and I'm like, I'm the worst.
Yeah. And I do have one more regret before we kinda
What's
close
your
this
last
out.
regret?
Don't leave at 4 a.m. the next morning for your
Oh
honeymoon.
my gosh.
Don't leave at 4 a.m.
Especially if you're waiting to do the do.
Yeah, because we both were waiting, and it's like we get back at like midnight, and the hotel person wasn't even there. They were sleeping in the back. We couldn't even get into our room. And then we go to like,
We had a lot of things to figure out
Yeah.
that evening.
and no offense to my dad, but he was supposed to pick us up at like 3:30, 4 a.m. to take us to the airport. And
What a trooper.
details kept changing with like the flights, and like they'll just pay for a parking spot if they don't have to take us. So my dad doesn't have to worry about getting up and stuff like that. And so while we're like getting into robes to, you know, do some married things finally, I'm getting calls from my dad. I'm like, this is just ruining the mood. And so maybe take a day.
Yeah, take a day.
Before, and I had a new job I was starting, so we had a week for the honeymoon. And so it's either like
What a time.
we only have a 6-day honeymoon, or we have a 7-day and leave at 4 a.m. And we try to leave at 4 a.m. The morning after our wedding. But I would say take a day or a week before you leave, if you can, because it was a lot to like trust everyone to pack up, put all the gifts in our place, give out apartment keys, try to get some sleep while figuring out some marriage things before you travel across the country. It was just a lot.
Yeah, I think I had it in my mind because of the scene in Father of the Bride where she like calls her parents from the airport. Like I just thought like you have to leave.
Yeah,
I also
I
think
always thought so,
because
too.
we waited to have sex before like
Explicit.
sex. But I think because we waited, there was this other idea of like I can't see anyone that I know, knowing that they know that we just
I
had
don't want
sex.
that little smirk side smile, like,
Yeah, like I was just
Oh,
like,
we
oh,
know.
I can't have brunch the next day with my family. Like, oh, like ew.
I don't
like,
want to see anyone that I know.
They
I want to
can't
go
know.
away and see people I don't know.
Yeah, I think I had that like expectation in my head, which was just funny. But anyway, those are my
I
regrets.
think those are my regrets. Overall,
Okay.
so thankful that
You
I married
still-
you.
we're still good?
Yeah, this is great. This is great.
you're
I don't
good with
regret
me?
anything about you. It's just
Good.
some of the like, you know, we had never done it before,
Yeah.
and so I think we did pretty well overall.
We'd never
but-
been married before.
Yeah, I think we did it pretty well. But those are my regrets.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm glad we got married though.
Well, thanks for having me on your
Happy
podcast.
4 years, honey.
Happy 4 years.
It's weird. Time flies, guys.
Yeah, when you're having fun.
Bottom line, if you're in
Nudge,
love,
nudge, wink, wink.
and you bottom line, if you're in love and you feel like it's the right person, just do it. What are you waiting for?
If you know what I mean.
Just do it. Get married.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's really great. And grow as you go.
Just make sure you're with the right person, because otherwise that'd be
Absolutely.
bad.
Don't
But
settle.
anyway, thanks for joining, guys. This has been a fun episode. I'm excited for our actual anniversary to celebrate with you.
Yeah.
We'll recap once we do our honeymoon trip. We'll recap and kind of give a
You're
rundown.
going to have me on again, or are you just going to do that yourself?
Yeah, I'll have you on again. It's fine.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me.
listening. Love you guys. Hope your day's amazing. And
Catch you next time.
happy Diwali.
Bye. I got to pee so badly.